All right, it is 7:01. I'll go ahead and call to order the April 19th regular scheduled of the Weld RE5J Board of Education. Order. If you would take them to silence your cell phones and or pagers. Rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jessica, would you please call?
Monica Johnson.
Here.
Amanda Proctor.
Here.
Nate Sassano.
Here.
Jeremy Scott.
Here.
Michael Whale.
We do have an agenda to approve. Need to make an amendment?
Yes, President Wales, I would like to move under special business A, the middle school FBLA National Conference trip request up between, with your approval, between numbers 2 and 3, so that we have some speakers here, and I know they have curfew.
It is a school night. I'll go ahead and move that we have the agenda to move the FBLA to 2.A, 2A, or 2B.
A second.
We have a motion by Reverend Scott, a second by Director Johnson to amend the agenda, being item 7A to under item or section 2, and we'll order it item B.
Is that okay? Thank you.
That's okay. Well, I think I'm going to take a look and find out. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amending the agenda as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have an agenda. Now we need to approve the amended agenda.
Or that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice President Sassano, a second by Director to approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All the same sign. All right, we have approved our agenda. Do we have any citizen comments on agenda items?
I don't think
Did
there's any
anybody-
agenda item.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And do I,
Yeah, if you'd come up and state your name and address for the record. I mean, you don't have to give us your street address, but your.
okay. Elizabeth Osnier, Milliken, 775 Saddleback Drive, Milliken. So you have on your agenda a discussion of expenditure for cash in lieu, is my understanding. I received a call this afternoon. Is that accurate?
Ms. Everest is going to give an update
Yeah, it'll be
under this report.
We would like to make a formal request that if any action is taken, that you go ahead and meet with our board, discuss cash in lieu, if we can, and we would make room on our agenda for next Wednesday's meeting if it's convenient.
Happy birthday. Are you going to celebrate me?
I will be more than happy to bring cake. You can specify what you like.
See ya. Yes.
And chocolate cake. Anybody else?
All of the above?
Oh,
So just so we're not taking any action on expenditures tonight.
Correct.
Nothing in action, but we would like to discuss.
Okay,
Good? Okay, thank you.
thank you. Is that it? Do we have any other citizens on the agenda? Okay. We will move on to staff and student celebrations and recognition.
I would like to start tonight off with recognizing the Assistant Principal of the Year, Mrs. Allie Hahn, who has been awarded the FBLA Administrator of the Year in Colorado. She is a tremendous supporter of FBLA, and what an honor across the state. So congratulations to Allie, and wonderful recognition for all the work that she's done. The other is, yes,
Well, what's the process for that? Are people nominated, or I saw
people
that
are
on the thing?
nominated, and then there's a committee that reviews and selects the administrator. Mr. Walker, do you know any other details about it?
No, it's, so the FDLA leaders fill out an application and nominate an assistant principal or principal. Then back to a committee. They then disclose members and then award the winner.
And is it statewide? Wow, all right. Well done.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Don't take
fantastic.
Well, she's on maternity leave, it's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for hitting us with that. We also have some champions in the room. And
Thanks, Vincent.
And our girls basketball team, as you know, achieved a state championship. And we want to always honor and acknowledge these champions. And so we have coaches here tonight and have as a student athlete here tonight to support and to acknowledge this whole team. But this is springtime with National Honor Society going to on a state, is the student team, state team? It was difficult to get them all here in person. But what I would like to do is acknowledge our coaches who are here and our player who's here. And we are just impressed because it takes anybody can, I shouldn't say anybody can win a game, but it takes to get as a basketball team to get them to that next level. Basketball is a true team sport. This year, when we watched the girls play, boy, they showed teamwork like no other in that teams, everybody's part of the team. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow, sometimes you pick each other up and forward. And boy, they did it. And there was a couple games that my heart rate went up a little bit and they pulled it off. You know, if we just had a coach that was more animated. So what we would like to is the board would like to acknowledge our state champions. And may I have our student athlete come on up and help talk about this?
Yeah.
No, you don't have to. I promise I won't. Yeah, okay, now. So, your teammates are Rhiannon Price, correct? Ryan, well, I already messed up on my Ryan Boston Price. What grade level is she? She's a sophomore. And Lee Chambers is a freshman. Kyla Collier, a freshman. Kinley Kern. Haley Lopez.
Like the way this is said.
Brooklyn Mesa, a junior. Bryn Price. Madison Moyer. Sienna Sakai. You know, I did this out with Paige Wright. And the best thing about the basketball.
Like how hard everyone works, the culture that our coaches have built for us and as a team. Just that we have, like, it's really inspiring.
Do you have a favorite moment besides the champion?
Definitely just during the I think it was the Air Academy, because our
The one that drove you
it was
crazy.
our Big 8 game, and Big 8, whatever you want to call it, and basically like, there was a point where like I could tell like crowd was just, wait, what's going on here? Like even we were kind of going on, and then like we came back in like the second, third, and fourth, and we were like, oh, this is our game. No question, this is our game. That was really inspiring, and that set the tone for the rest of the playoffs.
And I feel that you outworked your team, or the opposite team in a game, and that you can always tell the way you're out on the court to practice. You've got game faces on, and you're there for a reason, and you're with each other. We are so proud of you and have represented our community, our school, family, and yourselves. So congratulations where you shared this with your teammates.
Thank you.
And the board would like to shake hands. And come on. Now, do we have any of your managers here? Okay, so we have, what managers do?
They do anything as simple as never water bottles, they keep stacks for us, we are always someone recording stuff on their iPad, always carrying it, they're very hard working. They do practically a lot.
They took good view, didn't they? Callista Bly and Molly Vetter. Yay, them! Would you give them a? Can't get it done without a crew of outstanding coaches. And your coaches, Sydney Butcher. She's not in that. She's in Michigan. Okay. Can you tell us what was Sydney's part of in coaching?
Well, so she was our head JV coach, and she was also an assistant on the varsity. I got to work with her both as the JV and the varsity level, and she was very much very inspiring. She was always very positive. There's a lot of games where she just stepped in and she like guys, like, don't hang our heads, like, we can still do this, and that's very new to coaching.
Oh, you are a natural girl. Yes. Tell me about Rick Blair. I saw over here.
He has so much energy, and he's really hard on us in practice. And there were some practices we needed to like be pushed. He was there, and you're strength and conditioning coach also. So I always loved our workouts, our summer and fall workouts with him. Amazing. And yes, I was really tired and sore afterwards, but that's how I knew I worked hard.
That's awesome. Kudos to Rick. Come on up. Thank you for your sacrifices and all that you've done. I know the board would like to.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of this.
And now then there's assistant coach Tom Fajardo.
He was an assistant baby coach and also a varsity coach. He was over during the playoffs, so he was keeping us safe.
I saw him too. He was keeping you safe.
Which I ever had. He was, like I said, he was also very positive and fluent and stuff. He was very calm and collected, which is much needed, especially under a lot of pressure. He's always so fun, and he's so fun to talk to. And the coach, like, he knows how to do well, so like,
I loved at the championship game when you guys won and how the coaches celebrated. Oh, that was cool. Mr. Fajardo, come on up. Thank you very much for all you do. You make an impact on our kids. So.
I'll pay you later.
Great job.
Brought the right spokesperson, I gotta
And
say.
then there is Coach Enoch Miller. And, you know, how long you played with Coach Miller? This year. And he came in with talented players, and he molded you like no others. What else do you want to talk to us about Miller? Anything?
Just like before, like at the beginning of the season, there was a lot of uncertainty about how things were gonna go, but like I knew from like as soon as we had that first meeting with Coach Enoch that this was gonna be great. Like he set the expectation of we're winning the state championship. This is what's gonna happen, and he stuck to it. He pushed us hard. Like he's one of the best coaches I've ever had. And he always has a game plan, a very detailed game plan. it can be very overwhelming for someone who's really new, but like, as the season went on, he's just so organized and.
And does he have a voice after the game? Can he talk? Because he, I can hear him. He's a good. All good
The
though.
post-game talks are, everyone's a little hoarse.
Okay. Coach Miller, come on up, please. Oh, do we look forward to it next year?
No pressure.
I don't know if people know that.
Appreciate it.
it's gonna be,
Thank you.
middle
Thanks so
school.
much.
Anyway, coaches, players, and our star player here that, you are, like I said, the poise, is there anything you can't do? Anyway, thank you, Dan, let's give these people. Okay.
Or do you want me to? Let me grab mine.
So,
And Mr. Walker, thank you for all you've done to take care of these teams as the athletic director. Labor of love, huh?
Thank you, and they're, yeah, real easy to take credit when they're doing all their, taking care of business, so it was really fun to watch them. All the things Hayden said about just how they all molded together and it was done in practice, it was awesome to see. And Hayden, I agree with you that county game when we came back, they're down 22-6.
Yes.
Came all the way back, and once they won that game, that's when I was like, oh man, I pity whoever's playing us next. So, it's been a great year at Roosevelt. Man. Hopefully we're here for track.
Okay. Hayden, thank you for representing your team so well tonight. Thank you much.
so I do have one small bone to pick.
Okay.
Outside of Johnstown Milligan residents, the next biggest group of people in my church are Windsor residents, including two former Windsor school board members who are very active members of my church. It was a very interesting week. And very interesting Sunday morning.
Oh, yes.
The morning after. We got through it. We all celebrated together, but yeah, a little tension.
Thank you. And that concludes my part of the celebrations today.
Really?
Okay, we're waiting on that. Well, now, celebrations.
Oh.
We are going to we're moving that item up here and we will celebrate the FBLA, actually, all of them before they leave.
Okay.
The national conference request.
But the national
Okay,
conference is
so we're
now.
ready to, okay, any other celebrations?
Yeah, I'll do the work, please.
Okay. Let's move on then to that part B and,
Okay, I have Mrs. Sanders is here with Mr. Nunley and a middle school team who have a request for you. So, Mr. Nunley and your students, would you have them come up, please, and introduce themselves and talk to the board about your needs?
So hello, Mr. Nunley. Good evening, Superintendent Trussler, President Wells, and members of the board. Thank you for allowing us to speak with you this evening. As you mentioned, we're taking these 4 young men to FBLA Nationals. This is Owen Harden, Abe Checo, Clayton Turnbull, and Nunley. They all 4 qualified through the state petition to go to FBLA Nationals this year. We're looking for out-of-state approval, out-of-state travel approval, and then hopefully some financial assistance in sending these great young men to national. So I'll let each one of them step up and tell a little bit about their experience.
Hello, my name is Cole Nunley. I'm an 8th grader in MS, and this is my first year at VLA. We qualified nationals by being in the top 2 of our events. My event was exploring computer science. I believe my time in Ms. Salvatore's coding class would perform well in this event. I look forward to representing Milligan Middle School in the national conference. I believe my exposure to the workshops in the national conference expand my knowledge and further my interest in computing. One of the ways we will be helping fundraising for this trip is by selling Mary Mountain cookies, cookie dough. This fundraiser will support a new business and help with our expenses.
Question, do you have your order with you?
No.
She knows where to find me.
Hello, my name is Clayton Turnbull. I'm also an 8th grader, and this is also my first year at FBLA. I qualified for nationals by taking a test on exploring economics. I chose this event because I enjoyed the economics section in Mr. Nutt's Intro to Business class. I look forward to meeting other students around this country just on economics in general, and I would just like to meet them. We also have a community give back night scheduled at Harry's Pizza this month at the 26th.
This is your second time coming before the board, isn't it? Did you speak before
Yes.
at MMS?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Avery Pacheco. I'm a 7th grader at Milliken Middle. My event this year was an effective business meeting. This is my second year qualifying for nationals. I attended the conference last summer in Chicago. Workshops and networking opportunities were great at last year's conference. You meet people of all different backgrounds and educational backgrounds and varieties of culture. The overall event were extremely fun and informative. Attending this conference helped boost my self-confidence and inspired me to continue my path in FBLA and working overall in the business world. We also have another community fundraising opportunity at Dominic's and Black Sheep in Johnstown on May 3rd.
I'm Owen Harden. I am an 8th grader at MMS. I also qualified for the national conference, second year in a row. My event was digital citizenship. I made lifelong friends and received great insight into various aspects of business while at the conference last year. I look forward to sharing memories this year. We are also raising money by asking friends and family to donate on a fundraising calendar. Each completed calendar raises almost $400. We're also sending letters to local businesses asking for their support.
So the whole cost of this trip is about $8,000. MMS is paying for the registration fees for Vince and myself of $880. The FBLA MMS chapter has already raised about $1,600 before the state competition to pledge towards that cost. This leaves us with roughly $5,500 to fundraise so that we can avoid out-of-pocket expenses for the families sending these young men to nationals. What we are requesting, obviously, the approval for out-of-state travel, but financially, we are asking the board to cover the expense of sending myself as a chaperone so that the families don't have to cover that expense, which comes out to roughly $400. And then if the board would like to contribute any more than that, it would be greatly appreciated so that we can have these. We want them to fundraise and pull their own weight, but we also want them to focus on their academic getting prepared for nationals and their events. So any help that you can offer would be greatly appreciated. And if you have any questions for myself or the students, we would be happy to answer them.
I believe you have some other members of the FBLA team who aren't going are actually participating in the fundraisers, as I believe.
Yes. So
Okay.
the Mary's Mountain Cookies, we have the entire FBLA. We had 26 members this year, so we've got them all selling cookie dough right now.
So
And
they'll
then
find you.
the give back nights, I'm just gonna make the
Well,
agenda
sure.
behind me join me in place. But yeah,
I really like, I know I think it's great that they're coming together to support their students, even if they're not able to go, which I'm sure that's disappointing for them.
I feel the
just-
same way.
That's just, it's a good team.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
So I think the only question that I have is, I know we have some high school qualifiers who go into the same conference, and I know they're not requests because that's high school, this is middle school, but can we hold off until the high school comes to us with a similar request, probably? Or do you need to have this
Wait,
today?
did we need to approve the out-of-state trip?
Okay.
And then we can talk about how we will move forward with what the district's able to help support.
Okay.
That doesn't have to be decided tonight.
I mean,
Oh, go ahead.
I'll say having been last year, I'm first excited to see a very detailed agenda for how we're traveling. So thank you for that. It really is a great experience for, Edgar can speak to it because he was there last year, but it really is a great experience for these kids and experience this. I hope Avery, you didn't bring ends.
I lost them.
Oh, no.
Opportunity to get some more. So anyway, it's a thing for the kids to do and a really great experience. So I think do whatever we can for these guys.
Yes, I have to say, I did BLA at a high school level, and we didn't have the opportunity to participate in FBLA at a middle school level. And I love seeing students get involved at this early age. I think all four of you just presented yourself so well. Fundraising ideas were great. I love the initiative that you showed that. I know I go over the financial decisions that if it were up to me, I'd be like, just give it to them. Just let these boys go.
Monica, it is kind of up to you.
Is it up to me? Granted. I think you're really good, and I'm so proud that you made it to the national level. That's such an honor.
Mr. Everest, where would we get the money from?
We currently have budgeted in with the Board of Education. It's around, you have an amount budget to support activities with.
And it's usually how much, you have a scale now to help as to we can contribute?
Not
A loose
necessarily.
scale?
Not necessarily a scale. I mean, with the spreadsheet that the club filled out, it kind of detail out, their expenditures, where they're counting on for their revenues, and then request for support. So,
Are there concerns about this along with whatever we anticipate from high school?
We have 9 students in high school.
Okay.
I don't have any concerns.
With the ask or with the want? The need or the want? The need is 500, the want is 24.
Well, the 24 we will take care of for the spot, yeah, for our, yeah.
Yeah, then what was it?
The
minimum was 11.
Okay.
They said the max request is 2358.
Whatever sponsor tonight, we'll be sponsoring for high school.
A little out of our norms, but Mayor Austin had a question.
I want to talk to young man in purple about computers, because I know nothing, but I'll sponsor you guys for $100. I don't want Mary Mount cookies.
I'll take
God
yours.
knows I don't. And then Milliken Events will sponsor you for $200. So.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I do have a question. Will you get the word out to the kids about the different fundraising opportunities? Because I'm sure the community would love to.
Yes, we will put those out over Facebook. I put one out on my personal Facebook, but I wanted to wait until we officially had the approval for the trip before I started advertising too much for what we were fundraising for. So now, after tonight, there will be, the Dominics will be up, and we'll start doing a lot more social media accounts.
Perfect.
I'm gonna do it.
Let's do it in 2 separate.
Yep.
Okay.
I can do 2 separate. I'll do the first one. You can leave one if you want.
Well, I regard
I'm gonna move to approve the middle school students and the FBLA National Conference. No, okay.
Second.
Okay, just so it's for clarification, so your motion is for the overnight out-of-state trip. Okay.
Right over.
All right. So motion by Director Proctor, second by Vice President Sasan to approve the old trip for the Milliken Middle FBLA to attend Athens, Chicago, or Atlanta. June?
Luckily, I grew up in the South, so.
You want to reconsider that at this point? Get you guys Zoom meetings? Any question on that motion? Hearing none, Jessica, would you please pull the board on this?
Monica Johnson,
Yes.
Amanda Proctor, Nate Fasano,
Yes.
Jeremy Scott,
Yes.
Michael Bale.
I want to say, repeat everything that everybody else has said here. One of my favorite groups, apart from title winning basketball teams, is FBLA students. I love hearing the presentations. Everybody always comes, they're so well spoken, and it just excites me. It really does. Yes. So you guys have a trip. Now you need money to take it.
You want to try? What?
I can do a second.
You're gonna, okay. I motion to approve funding for this trip to Maldives. If I do an amount, do I have to do this amount? I'm gonna say 2,400. I'm an even person. We can 2,400. 2,400.
That will, because we will be paying for the chaperones anyway out of it. So that, yes.
I second.
I think she wanted to say.
I second. I strongly second.
So we have a motion by Director Proctor, second Director Johnson, to approve funding of $24 for the aforementioned FBLA trip to nationals in Atlanta in late June. Any discussion on that motion?
Just a question, I guess. So you said it's projected funding shortfall. Could be more if the fundraisers don't get what you hope they'll get. Is that right?
So if you approve 2,500, where we're at right now with our funding, leaves $3,000 that we need to fundraise.
Okay.
And between our fundraising and board support, that's where that 3,000 would come from.
So I guess I would just say, if for some reason we don't get there, come back and let's talk. Okay.
You're already part of the way there, thanks to
Yeah,
recipe we got ready to throw around. Look at that, you guys came to the right meeting.
The rest of it is yard work.
Yeah.
I'll make my rest of it do some yard work.
There you
Oh, no, I'm looking at securing a computer.
go. Free technical service.
Any other discussion? Jessica, would you please pull the board?
Monica Johnson,
Yes.
Amanda Proctor, Nate Fasano,
Yes.
Jeremy Scott,
Yes.
Michael Bale.
Yes. All right, guys, good luck. Thank you.
We'll be looking forward to hearing all about it when you come back.
Let's move on to reports and comments from board members. What have you guys been up to?
Well, I've had the opportunity to do several tours lately, which is great. The most exciting one, though, actually was finally getting into elementary, which I had not been able to get to. It just opened the new sections that they opened after stuff that got completed over spring break. And it was just really good to be there, to see all the smiling faces. And last time we were there, it was like dirt floors in so many of those places. And the thing I just really want to celebrate at that is not, I mean, it's great space and I'm glad we're doing it. But all the teachers we ran into, everyone we talked to, who've been living in a construction zone for 8 months, are the only building that's had to occupy while the construction's going on. And the attitude was great and the smiles were great. And if we don't have like an extra bubble of like construction and engineering, you know, people in the CT programs, when these kids get to the high school, I would be surprised. Because everyone just talks about how the kids love seeing everything going on. So I guess there is a benefit to it though for them, but I'm sure it's a hardship for the teachers. So just want to shout them out. It was great to see, and it was great to see everybody else doing this so fun.
I'll just make a comment about, we had, since our last board meeting, we've had junior prom celebration. And I got to be just a very tiny part of the after prom celebration. And I would really like to recognize all of the school district volunteers that put that together, as well as the parent volunteers. It was just such an amazing night for those kids. And I would say I helped out with the food and vending section. And the comments I got was, oh, prom was, it was fun. The dance was kind of fun. But after prom was where the party was, and people stayed in and dedicated themselves to making sure those kids had a memorable night until 3 a.m. I was not there till 3 a.m. I got out a little earlier than that, but it just was very heartwarming to see the community come together and have such a great night. We had sponsors that donated food and activities and prizes, and it was great. So that was a really fun event to be just a very small part of.
You don't know?
Yeah.
I don't need to go.
That's up to you.
No?
You're looking at your phone. So
I had to pull up my note. I'm gonna steal a little bit of your thunder.
I have no thunder.
Yeah, well, all right, well, I'm still in it, so. I've only been able to do a couple of, well, one thing really between board meetings is I attended the last District Accountability Committee meeting back. It was interesting, the two parts where I actually really liked including the document communication piece with, I'm going to say his name wrong.
David Gregory.
David Gregory, thank you. The first majority of the meeting was focused on communication. He went through a slideshow and then about advertisements to kids and why we communicate, the areas of communication that are part of that, lies and half-truths and truths and how marketing can form those, and how the next 3 months district is really going to focus on communication. Everything that they did is the very basic activity, but it's very highly effective, is the stop, start, and continue activity. Postcards, you write your junk on the postcards, you stand up, you put them on the posters. There was a lot of continues, quite a few starts, but amazingly the stops. And that could be twofold, right? Either people feel like they have great communication, so there's not a lot to stop, or, and this is my crux of the or we're not doing enough for them to hate something because we don't have enough. That's kind of the crux of that. So I don't know, maybe David Gregory will have a little more insight into that, why there are so little stops. But that is kind of concerning to me because I couldn't even think of a good stop. And usually I could put on a negative Nancy hat and find one, but I couldn't. Oh, thank you. And then I'm going to steal a little bit of Karen's thunder, so I'm stealing everybody's thunder.
Go for it.
Rebecca Albert, correct? I must remember her names. Rebecca Albert talked for a few minutes about safety and security. I have a lot of details written down. I'm going to let you talk about them because you probably have more details than I wrote down from the meeting. There was a safety and security survey. RLH, our architect firm, merged with Answer. Is that the name? I just
ANER,
okay,
yes.
all right. Merged with Answer with a lot of security stuff, and so with that merger, they did a school security analysis every single school, and went through and looked at operational and physical things at each site. There was two really good kudos that they gave us, is that we involved police and fire in buildings, and they really enjoyed that because normally we'll bring police and fire, and I thought that was really interesting because to me, why should you bring police and fire? Because you want those guys to know your building because you need them. So that was really a good one. Another interesting one that I don't know, you probably already heard because you hear all the news on the street upstairs, is that they are suggesting that we need to budget for more SRS. Keep kids safe in our buildings. And then you'll probably talk as well as a couple more campus monitors at RHS. I don't know the trade campus monitor and an SRO besides like touch, but I don't understand the difference between the two. So maybe you can add that in your security one.
Okay.
But anyways, that was a lot of fun, and I really liked how this one was. Anyways, it's fine. Very long. I can make it really long. I went to one, but I'll make it longer.
That's great.
That's good.
Okay. I don't know.
So I had a couple things this week, last couple of weeks. And now I'm drawing a blank on what they were. Well, the first thing I went to the FSCP, which is the Family, School, and Community Partners
Thank you.
meeting, and I went because my wife is part of the FSCP team, and you should come with me so you could hear what we're talking about. So I did, and it was I kind of sat in the back and listened, and but it was really great to hear. It was district wide. We had lots of families from all across the district. Both communities represented. All the schools were represented. And just to hear what the community was talking about when it comes to how we can better engage families in our school environments was really interesting. Nothing that I could kind of put a tack in to say that was the thing we need to do, but they had a say, and they did a similar kind of stop-start exercise. And they will take the group, the team, the FSCP team, take that information and kind of collate it and put it together. I'm sure bring that back to us at some point. So we can see, but there were, butcher black paper with little sticky notes, and they were covered in sticky notes with ideas, suggestions, and things we could do better. So, and things were doing well. So anyway, it'll be great to see that feedback when it comes. But we're not quite there yet. So that was a fun meeting to attend. The other thing I did this last week was met with our facilities director, Roseberry. In particular about Pioneer Ridge and the playground equipment at that facility, which, to be perfectly honest, I had no idea was in the shape that it was in prior to Mr. Roseberry coming on board, spending, according to him, about $30,000 and many, many hours making that equipment and functional for our students. And really what we need to know is that equipment just needs to be replaced. Just straight up replaced. And I think we forget sometimes that Pioneer Ridge is now 20 years old. And so Mr. Roseberry and I spent a lot of time talking preventive maintenance across the district, but especially in that, so that we don't end up in a situation like we had with Lutford, where our only option 30 years from now is to tear it down. So a lot about that, but the focus was around the playground. And again, I think what we need to know is funding is going to be a question for that. There's a lot of history with that playground. There were a lot of promises made 3 or 4 years ago, rug pulled out from under the staff and the kids at that facility. And I think we had hoped money would exist after all the other building decks that we could focus in on Pioneer Ridge. With some of the things that have come up, especially asbestos abatement at Lutford and those kind of things, that's not going to be there, probably. So our job then is to find other sources of funding. So Josh and I talked quite a bit about grant funding that we could come up with, and the cost of that is going to be probably $800,000.
100?
800.
Okay, that's what I thought you said. But I hoped you said 100.
Easy. No, $800,000. And the Pioneer Ridge PTO has already stepped in and is doing some great fundraising for that. They did a penny war weeks ago, I think. And according to Josh, raised $8,000 from a penny war. But there's only so many penny war sales we can do. And 800,000 divided by 8,000 is 100 years to get there. So what's that?
We need a bingo license.
They need some. Anyway, Josh had a lot of ideas around grants. One of those grants that could fund most of the project will require probably us to work with the town of Johnstown, because that is a town park as well. So again, I think we should probably put together a session where we sit down with Josh and talk about those ideas, and then probably sit with the town of Johnstown, where we sit down and talk with them what funding options exist. Is there matching funds because the town park, those kind of things. So I'll keep that in the front of our minds as we look toward doing something, but mine is something's got to be done with that playground equipment if somebody gets hurt, honestly. So anyway, that was the meeting I had with Josh. Lots of interesting conversations, preventive maintenance that hasn't happened in this district for a long time. Prior to him being here and Ms. Trussler being here, but I can tell you those stories if you want to hear them. So, anyway, it was good, and like I said, I think our focus needs to be on finding ways to fund that upgrade and improvement. Okay. Now I'll stop being long.
So I did for you one thing. I'm going to steal Thunder's. I know he's going to talk about it too. is I did attend Michael and Monica, the BOCES legal thing, legal forum, which was really interesting and fascinating. On one hand, it was affirming because some of the stuff she was talking about, I was like, actually, we do pretty okay at that. There's a lot of conversation with everything going on in the state about, executive sessions and how you call them, because there's the guy running around, seeing everybody just to shake him down for some cash. And I wasn't quite sure how he was doing that, so it's interesting to get a little explanation of how that was happening. But Ken White thinking we're probably doing okay. Picked up some interesting, little more help on things like document retention and record retention. What do we have to keep? What do we don't? So it was really, really interesting. And I know we only recently rejoined, because I'm just glad we did. I mean, this is just there's a couple of times I think we've been able to use them for some really good, helpful things. And this was a nice proactive thing. And it's always sit down with people from other districts and just go, oh, well, we don't have it so bad. We're doing okay. Not that anybody's doing bad, but I was just like, yeah, we're good. So that was a good thing. A lot of good information there.
Yeah, that was a good event. Yeah, our table, we were sitting with a couple of gals from the Briggsdale School Board. So, they have 200 students in the entire school district. And so it was, we're huge to them, and of course we sit here with you and we're tiny compared to you guys. And so it's just a matter of perspective.
Our table did win the Jeopardy game at the end
did.
as well.
And
we did win.
Good job.
And let me state for the record, we beat Eaton. We beat Eaton School District. So the rivalry is still alive and well between Roosevelt and Eaton. And the school board is leading the charge on that.
All right, I will see the superintendent of Eaton tomorrow. So.
Yeah, we had that BOCES thing. We had a not so fun meeting last week at Pioneer Ridge. We had to have a discussion about boundary changes. We got positive feedback. It's not happy feedback, but it's positive feedback on the process of how we set elementary school boundaries. And I think you're probably getting some more, I think, as people were digesting what we were telling them.
And I'm following up with some other families who reached out, and I will see if reaching out one more time to that same group, if they want to meet again at a night meeting to see if there's any other feedback. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those meetings you walk into, the outcome is not good. That's why you're there, is to get bad news. We're continuing on negotiations. We had negotiations last week. I might be in and out of this upcoming week. Are you going to be able to attend on Tuesday?
That's next week on 25th.
Yes.
Okay. But that seems to be going really well. I think there's some good synergy between. I know I'm not supposed to say this. It's not how our interest-based system works. Between the sides, there's some good synergy. We're all one team, and so there's a lot of back and forth. So the Gregories, I had an extensive meeting with the Gregories today. The lack of stops is a great thing. And basing that on a lot of the community surveying that they were doing, that they weren't getting of that negative feedback that they were typically used to seeing. And so they were saying that this is very uncharacteristic of that. So that was a good thing. Interesting thing, we were talking a lot about their communications plan, and one of the things we really want to try to focus on is success stories. And we saw 4 gentlemen here tonight I think would be perfect candidates for student success stories. Specifically, the fact that they were taking the things that they're doing in FBLA and they were directly relating that back classroom activity. And that is the kind of stuff that I really get excited about, that I think we should be sharing. That, hey, I'm interested in this. I learned a lot about it in this class, and now I'm doing this because of that. And so that we will be doing some of those things. I got really excited today because I saw the UPS man. This happens to me every year. The UPS man pulls into my yard, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't have anything coming. And he comes to the door, and he's got a packed meat. He goes, this is a speedy delivery. It is supposed to be to you before 10 a.m. this morning. I'm thinking, oh, what is it? What is it? And I open it up. all the grant applications for the best grant. It happens. It happens every year. I get so excited when he shows up. I'm like, I don't have anything ordered. And he's like, I have a reading ahead of me. So tomorrow we do have a best meeting. We'll probably start digging into the books. But we have an application in. I saw it for supplemental. So that season is upon us. And then I do have a BOCES meeting tomorrow night. And that is it for me. So
Been a busy last 2 weeks,
it
hasn't it?
really has been. Yeah. It was tough because especially last year, a lot of things that we kind of had to pick and choose. We had the CTE banquet or spring dinner and what the board meeting is essentially the
Their
board meeting,
CTE
advisory
board
board
meetings,
meeting.
yes,
Yeah.
the advisory board.
And that was the same night as the boundary meeting. I really wanted to go to that, but I really felt like I needed to be at the boundary meeting to catch some spears for you, Ms. Kramer, the flag. So, and Director, Vice President Sassano too. So.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I have just a few things to add under the superintendent's report. Director Proctor, you gave a great overview. What I would like to share is all the specific findings, but don't do that under a safety analysis. What Rebecca Albert and I will be doing is sitting with each principal and going through specifically the strengths and areas that we need to work on and that we need to improve on access, protection. They went through the building and they also had a drone and looked at it in different ways. And we are really fortunate to have this analysis to help us move forward with next steps. So I appreciate the District Accountability Committee coming forward with that as also as a charge. And we will continue to move forward in that area. I wanted to talk just a little bit about CMAS in that the last weeks we have been busy. 2/3 of our students, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Only our preschoolers, 1st, 2nd graders, and seniors are not involved in CMAS, PSAT, or SAT. And it takes a village to implement these state assessments, from our parents supporting us, from snacks, getting them to school on time, to a good night's sleep, teachers, staff members, our technology team. One of the key pieces as to how well is when something goes wrong and we have to rise to the occasion and fix things. MMS, the first day of testing. Some reason, when everybody turned their laptops on, something went down. And so because it was the testing window with our Bryson and the tech team, Mrs. Kramer went over, Mrs. Weiser went over, they reconfigured things, and Mrs. Kramer and Mrs. Weiser in turn went ahead and were able, because they've been trained to administer tests in a little bit later time, so that we learned that a rolling start works best at the middle school. But I so appreciate everybody's work in order to implement these assessments, because last year we had 375 students who opted out. And that also reflected in our scores that are on our accountability report. More importantly, we use these scores to help inform instruction and next steps as one piece of our evidence. And this year, we've gone from 375 to 144 opt-out. So that's Roosevelt High School last year had 166. This year, they only had 115. Middle school, last year they had 69 opt-out. This year, 8. And it goes on down in those areas. But I very much appreciate everybody working together in order that we can implement CMAS and complete. Mrs. Kramer, is there anything else you wanted me to add on CMAS, on any of the opt-out or the implementation?
I just want to echo the appreciation for all the hard work. I think we've done a good job of advertising the importance of CMAS tests, and I think that the building leaders have done an amazing job of working with their staff to prepare and having all the teachers work with students to prepare them to take the test and do their best. And so I think it's been a complete group effort, and it's proving to be really positive this year.
Yep, we should be done by the end of next week.
Yep.
Knock on wood.
With all of it.
I was going to talk a little bit more about FBLA, FFA, but I'm going to wait until next meeting because I think I'm going to do that under intelligence. I do want to note that in May 26th, 7 p.m. is graduation. And this will be a milestone for Roosevelt High School because it will be the last graduation at that facility.
Can you say the time and date and time one more time?
7 p.m. on the 26th at 616 North 2nd Street.
7 p.m., right?
The other milestone will be June 2nd, will be the last day that staff will be allowed in the building at Roosevelt because it will be the construction area and with some abatement. We are working around areas so that the FFA building will be used for some athletic programs with a separate drive, but this will be the first that staff will no longer be at the present Roosevelt High School as it gets turned into RMS. Yes.
I have a question about that. Let me pull up my calendar real quick. Does this came up today in our conversation. We think it would be a really good idea if we had similar to what we did with Ledford last year and let people know starting now that, you know, if you were at Roosevelt High School or whatever, on barbecue day.
Yes, that's right. We're having barbecue. Yep.
Please come and do a final tour. Because I know those guys are wanting to get to work quick on that building and might get ourselves in a situation where we can't get that opportunity, and that would be a good day to do it. So.
Well,
Okay.
the good news is we're not tearing the building.
Right.
So, but what is that date again? The last date they can be in the building?
June 10th.
Is that a Monday?
Friday.
Is barbecue days that wing
The
weekend?
next day.
It's the next day.
So is that going to pose a problem to have people? Okay.
You know, we have a few teachers that have more than 15 boxes. I think they can fill more than 15 boxes. We're starting now. So that a couple of those content areas that's to save. We'll get her done. And then we will have the high school staff that works past the second. They'll be working late. So that concludes the superintendent report for tonight. Yes.
I have a question and a comment. So the issue at MMS with the testing was an internet issue?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you. We know the internet situation around this area is just not good, so.
So when students logged on all at the same time.
Right.
It just overloaded the
Bandwidth.
system, so there were about 75 students who started and then got out and couldn't get back in.
Okay.
So we took those 75 students and put 60 in the gym because you can only proctor 30 students on adult. So the Swizer and I did that group, and the other 15 were needed small group of patients anyway, so we had them in 2 other locations.
Okay. I just, like I said, I was wondering if it was an internet issue or if it was a building power issue. So, okay, that is comment then. I think you're right, Ms. Kramer, about the marketing around how important testing is, because I know I've been seeing that for probably 2 months on Facebook and all those other places, newsletters and everything. So I think that went a long way towards letting parents know how important it is that they have it in school for testing. So that I think helps a lot. We should repeat that again in future. So
I also think having them had to sign up in person, right? I think that was probably why a lot of the opt-outs went down. Kids weren't opting themselves out. My one comment on that is KQA did all of their testing last week. They did it Monday, Thursday, And I know my kid appreciated that Friday day off because she was exhausted and I think she slept in that day. It was even, even though kids are only testing for a part of the day, the teachers and staff at all schools do a really great job of like doing something fun in the afternoon to break that up. It was kind of a good planning. So I don't know if it happened like that or just did, but it was great from like a parent perspective of being able to give your kid a break.
Good.
After that.
Any other questions for Jen and Tressa?
I just had one question before we move on. I'm so appreciative of all the work we do to keep our students safe, but lately I've been thinking a lot about outdoorsy. I feel like we're doing the right thing to keep children and staff safe indoors, but is there a plan of action that is already set in place if violence were to occur outside the school buildings, mainly during a recess?
There is.
Okay.
And that's all I can tell you.
Oh, we can talk more about that later.
And some of the outdoor activity had been curtailed just because of that reason. And it is what it is. Sad.
It is sad. Yeah, it is sad, but definitely something you have to consider in, unfortunately, today's world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything else? No. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the report from the CEO's office. Mr. Evers.
Thank you, President Wales, members of Education, and Superintendent Tressler. Tonight, I'll start off my report with just a recap of the meeting I attended last Wednesday with the Milliken Town Board. Go to the second slide.
How can you do that?
I'm sorry. So I did meet with the Milliken Town Board at their work session last Wednesday. We had a really good discussion around basically three major topic areas: the district's cash and lieu rate proposal, the future of the Milliken Elementary School building after the middle school moves out, and a general conversation about Colorado school finance, which is my favorite part of the meeting. The kind of the first area was district cash and lieu proposal. Milliken trustees were hesitant for such a significant increase in the cash and lieu rate. It was that the Hall family is a significant housing developer in Milliken, whereas Johnstown has several developers. We've also pointed out that the Hall family has historically made several significant donations to the school district in the past, and it's felt they can't continue both with the donation and with an increased cash and lieu rate. The Hall family currently has a large, I believe it was a 1,500 unit development that's planned in the Milliken area. We discussed the possibility of, instead of having a cash in lieu for that particular development, to potentially look at a land dedication, within the development. We also discussed that an increase in our cash in lieu rate, that would also yield more land for the land dedication of that. And it was also discussed that we could potentially have a higher cash in lieu rate for other developers that were to come in to develop in the Milliken area. Future of the Milliken Middle School building. I stressed that the district is not planning to just fall the existing MMS building. With the projected growth in our district, we definitely have to utilize all of our facilities. Tees felt it would be a waste to just tear the building down. We have from January 2025 through August 2025 to make potential renovations and repurposing the building. Some potential ideas for repurposing, we've heard quite a few of these before, a 3 to 5 elementary school, potentially a K-8 school, some type of a middle school. And also discuss that we will have cash in lieu funds that can help with any potential renovation or whatever we decide we're doing with that building. And the final thing we talked about was the Colorado school finance discussion. What prompted that was a question was asked about with all of the development that's currently happening in our district around I-25, that was going to increase our funding, and unfortunately it does not.
If only.
With how schools are funded in the state. So that's my overview from that meeting. I can answer any questions the board may have.
So just to be clear, it doesn't increase our funding, but it does spread the.
It reduces the individual's tax burden.
Right.
The commercial development bill. Okay. And then moving on to my CFO board presentation. Through March, we've had 124.5 student contact days, which translates to 70.2% of our scheduled contact days for this school year. We received 50.2% of our budgeted revenue. Of that, 78.8% state source, 29.1 local, and 30.6 federal. On the expenditure side, we have expended about 66% of our budgeted expenditures for the year. We're within expectations for this point on our spending. We're definitely not on a trajectory to overspend, and our range from a low of 64.8% of budget spent to a high of 68.7% of budget spent. And then moving on to needed water rights purchase. So with the additions of Elwell and the new Roosevelt High School, the district is going to need to buy a significant amount of rights for those expanded facilities. The total is $3,179,000 that we need to purchase. The district will owe $1,589,000 within the next month to Johnstown, with the second installment due April of 2024. Our current shared cash in lieu account, approximately $1.2 million in it. The proposal is to use a significant portion of that to purchase water rights for our two facilities, and to also reserve a portion for the Milliken Middle School building renovation for its potential repurposing in 2025. The remaining portion, the water rights, will come from the district's building. That concludes this presentation, and I can answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions?
Yes. Is that town of Johnstown's cash and lieu rate? That $3 million. So we're not going out and buying the shares. We're paying Johnstown to go buy the shares.
Yes, we're purchasing from Johnstown.
On your slide on our state of the union or whatever, no cash flow issues. No, we're not going to have to purchase a cash flow loan.
We didn't this year.
Okay.
I will again apply. The application will come out in May again, and I will apply because I most likely will need to participate next year in that. And again, it's just a cash flow issue with us receiving so much of our local property tax and marking in June towards the end of our fiscal year. It really is challenging years just from a cash flow perspective. It doesn't mean that we don't have any money or anything. It's just when we have our tax receipts.
Yeah. And I know I'm put you on the spot with this question. I know over the last couple of years, our specific ownership tax revenue has exceeded what we've always budgeted for.
Yes.
Is that still the case, and are we still seeing that trend continue a little bit?
It is. I'm projecting about 1.3 million in specific ownerships for this year, and a similar amount for next year. Probably a little bit lower, but a similar amount Whereas typically the district budgeted around 700,000 for specific ownership.
If you go to your next slide. So on the third bullet point, when we talk about the shared cash and lieu account, so we update our intergovernmental agreement with the town of Milliken. Earlier, was it earlier this year or was it late last year?
2022.
Does that happen? How does it just go that? So from that point forward, we do have an account where we are putting from that day forward.
Exactly.
Any cash and lieu collected with the city limits of Milliken is going to that. This is that previous account where everything was commingled.
That's correct.
Okay, just so I understand that. That was all my questions. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will move on to our consent agenda. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Most items listed under the consent agenda have gone through board approval, and no, they have not gone through.
I was gonna say.
Like, that's what we're doing right now.
I'm going to do myself and everybody else a favor. These guys on. Have gone through board review and recommendation. Documentation concerning items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Reverend Scott, a second by President Sassano to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, Jessica, would you please call the roll?
Monica Johnson,
Yes.
Amanda Proctor,
Yes.
Nate Sassano,
Yes.
Jared Scott,
Yes.
Michael Webb.
Yes. Does anybody need a recess? I know we kind of got in here quickly after work session.
No, but I do want to point out that Coach Miller, who was here tonight, was in that consent agenda. He's taken off at MMS, so that's great for us.
Physical education instructor.
Yes, a PE instructor, and also Mr. Long will be our transportation director as well.
Oh, good. I didn't see that. Good.
I'd say they'll drink, but we don't want him driving. We'll move on to our old business. Our first item is amendments to policy ICBA, which is concurrent enrollment.
And President Wales and members of the board, I am ready to ask for approval of this policy revision that aligns with a statute that has updated this policy in that our concurrent enrollment, that when students go to another institution, students participate in order of our agreement that we have with both Ames, Front Range, and UNC, and that the tuition will be paid by the school district as it has in the past, unless we have something different in the agreement. And no comments, no public input on it, and we're ready to move forward.
Well, I want to thank you, Ms. Tressler, for bringing us, because I looked at the previous policy and never really thought much about it. You know, it really was frankly regressive, and so this I like the change, and I think this is important. And anything that urges people to take advantage of it is good, especially if they probably need it most.
Encourage them to take those classes.
Yeah, absolutely. So removing some barriers, I like.
Yeah, and it's interesting. In part of our conversation today, when we were talking about student success stories, I always do fall back to our one student. Well, I'm sure there's more than one, but the one that I'm aware of that graduated from Roosevelt I believe 2 years ago.
Oh, yes, it was up here.
Had 22 college credits when she graduated from Roosevelt School. Which in of itself is pretty awesome. But sometimes we forget about like the tangible benefits that come with that. And for her, it gave her opportunity to kind of take that gap year. And I think she did mission work in that time without having that pressure of having to get back in school that she was already essentially ahead of her peers at that point. So you know, again, just one of those, you know, benefits of these programs that you don't really think about. I think, at least from a Board of Education standpoint, I think we typically think about student achievement and, you know, how far ahead you're going to be in college and, you know, wow, what a great thing you're doing. It provided life experience. I mean, it provided the opportunity for experience for that student. So I think it's pretty cool. And I'm excited about these policies.
So I had a related request, Ms. Fresh, I think we talked about it at one point, which is, I think it'd be really interesting, if it's not too arduous, I'm not sure what it takes to pull something like this, but it'd be very interesting for me, and I think others too, to see like this current graduating class at Roosevelt, like how many college credits was that combined, is that class graduating with? Because I bet it's quite a lot.
I
More
don't
than
think that
we
will
would
be
probably
part of
think it is. And more than the community would probably think. And if you think about that in terms of not only dollars saved from future tuition, but time saved and all of that. I mean, I just think that, I mean, again, it's really hard to come up with, understand, but if it's something that we can pull together.
We can
I would
pull
just love
that.
to know it.
That's going to be pretty easy to pull.
Okay, I just think that's one of those things we just need to maybe just track and report, because, I mean, I just think that's a good benchmark for.
They're either working on it or they're watching the cheese text video.
I love it every time they take notes furiously when one of us says something. You're like, what did we say?
Yeah, just the financial bit alone for
For families,
families
huge.
is huge as we see rising costs of a higher level of education increase every single year. And it's a great thing. It's a great thing to make the improvements and make it accessible for our students.
I think President Wales said it before, and I agree. I don't ever mind overspending that budget.
No,
We'll figure that out.
that's the one we will always gladly overspend. Mr. Everest probably.
Even he will find that money with us.
Yes.
Yes, he will. You're right.
All right, well, I'll talk. Let's have some action. Unless there's more discussion.
I'm going to move that we adopt those amendments for policy IHCDA. Enrollment.
Second.
A motion by Vice President Sassano, a second by Reverend Scott to approve the amendments to policy IHCD. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Jessica, would you pull board?
Monica Johnson,
Yes.
Amanda Proctor, Nate Sassano, Jeremy Scott,
Yes.
Michael Whale.
Yes. Our next item of old business is the policy update to amendments to policy KEHC.
The PubCom concerns, complaints about teaching methods, activities, and curriculum. We are not ready to bring forward to a vote. I wanted to give you an update in that we've made several changes, a couple grammatical changes, but also clarifying that it's an individual or a group who is a resident of Wells 5J school district. However, it was pointed out also that we have open enrollee students whose families may have a concern or complaint as they go through this process. And so we need to make sure that is embedded. And because we're bringing some revisions forward, I want to let open to see if there's any other concerns or about these revisions. Other than that, anything else that you wanted to add feedback for me, this one?
Just a question, have we gotten my back about the policy?
Just from staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some typos.
Yeah, some type.
But no
Director Proctor.
Yeah.
Onboard.
Yeah, labeling, yes. So Director Proctor is really good at policy reading. Yeah, it is a superpower. Thank you.
We needed that.
It is.
Just a comment that this topic of conversation at the Bosie's legal thing, and one of the things that I think President Wales mentioned, the matrix, that we ask people to do, and all that. There was a lot of interest around that from the other district. I think when we get this all wrapped up, there's a couple districts that were hoping we would share it with them because they liked that idea of not just saying, I don't like that, asking people to put a little more, just so we know why. I mean, so we can start
And
we
help
can have
us
a productive
as we go
conversation
through
if we don't know what the. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to keep that open for another 2 weeks.
Yes.
With these changes.
Please.
Right. So no action on that tonight. Special business.
Our
District
dis-
Accountability Committee.
And our finale night is a summary of our District Accountability Committee findings and year-end reports. Mr. Jeff Torrey, our DAC president, is here to share that with you.
All right, I've been announced, so I'll bother with that. Good evening to the board members and Superintendent Trussler. My thunder has been reduced to a slight rumble. So we'll start with enrollment. You spoke about just redistricting and boundary lines and everything, and then we also talked about what we might want to do with Millikan Middle School, Millikan Elementary School. So I won't go too much into that. We did meet with David Gregory. He was very insightful. It was quite the presentation. I did that quite a bit. It was very informative. One thing I would add to what was said was that he had a broad spectrum of ways to communicate with everyone and how to get ahead of the game to nip things in the bud before they began. And I thought that was very interesting and in ways that I didn't even think that, you would allow, to communicate to parents and the students and even the staff. So I thought it was very, very insightful to hear about that. So one of the charges was discuss ways to increase student achievement toward being accredited with Distinction Blue Ribbon Awards, and that pretty much tied to our unified improvement plans. The findings of the review test score performance was done by the district and the school leaders. So as far as reviewing the unified improvement plans, definitely did that and discussed them, and that seems to be an annual thing. As far as our charge for the school safety and security, obviously we've also already talked quite a bit about that. And only so much can be taught when it comes to that. I will say that as far as I was concerned, and it seemed like with the entire committee, Rebecca does instill quite a bit of confidence that she's got things going in the right direction and that she's on top of it, really on top of it. It's really a comfort. I had spoke with her because, and something that I plan on taking the lead on is doing the school safety week. I think it's a big thing. I think when we first started DAC this year, it happened to be National School Safety Week, and really no one other than Rebecca really much about that it was even going on. So I thought that in this environment that we have, that this might be something that would be important for all of us. So I definitely plan on working with her and some of the principals I've already talked with, and we're going to start that. That is the middle of October somewhere, 12, 14, somewhere or so. And what that's going to entail, who knows, but it's very important to me, and so I definitely want to take a lead on that and discuss with them. And we're going to, and we'll see about what we back for me next year, but if I'm doing that, but just wanted to mention that. Our fourth charge was additional work for the account committee and the budget priorities. We really didn't get a chance to do much with that. The school safety was a big priority, and then Mr. Ree's presentation took up one entire meeting, I would say. So policy work pretty much was the same thing, and then superintendent search, we can get into that if we want to, but I think that's pretty much solved itself, and we don't have to worry about that too much. So as for a preschool update, we were provided with that, and I can't go into too much detail on that. That was a short message on how that's progressing and what needs to happen. Other than that, I really am impressed with our community and how much they come together. I mean, I think we even made notes that by the first beautiful day of the entire spring, we had a pretty much full house, and we were really happy with that. That just happened to be the presentation day, and everybody's come together and done, I thought, a really good job this year. So that's what I have.
Any questions for Mr. Troy?
So on the unified improvement plan, the increasing student, I know that's one of the charges I think we gave you. Yes. I'm curious. we can say that up here what we want, but when you get somebody to see with everybody that represents, really kind of buying into that. So I know you guys did your work around it, but wouldn't you feel like there was kind of general consensus that was it important, that this is something that was important, it needs to be a priority for us? I mean, just general buying, the importance of that.
Well, this is my second year going through that, and I understood it more this year than I did last year, and each principal goes and lays it out, and I think that was a KQA that was just continuing from last year's or something. We just, and they lay it all out in layman's terms for me. I'm like, okay, it sounds great, but from my perspective, it's, I want to say going through the motions, but it just feels like it's, we're gonna lay it out, and then I would personally be more interested in the next year instead of already talking about the next plan on how the last plan worked and what happened, how was it implemented, and those sorts of things. That's from my own personal perspective.
So, Mr. Torrey, I think it's really valuable that you continue with the district accountability committee. So that you,
Guess who just signed himself up for
But no, I mean, we can all fall into that. I mean, districts, businesses and everything, you're always, you do sometimes need a reminder to go back, oh, wait a minute, what is it that we said we were going to do? Did it work? Do a little debrief at the end of things. So no, I think that's an interesting thing to consider.
but we will have new members next year. And so I think your insight on that is helpful, indicative as to how we can better present information to say, this is what we were going to do, this is what we did, and this is how it turned out, and this is what we're going to do next.
This has kind of been my common theme since I've been on board is the accountability part of this thing.
And that's why I'm because
right
honestly, as we think about that, I mean, I do think, I'm not trying to put more work on you, but I do think that those are questions that probably belong and should be coming from the District Accountability Committee. Not asking questions about where we're going, but let's just have a little conversation about where we've been.
And not to be critical of anyone, I know how busy everybody is in the district, and I think it's one of the things where, you kind of like get up, you present, and you move on, and that's kind of it. And I think that maybe if there was a little bit more weight behind it now next year, we're going to talk about how that might change the format of it, and the thought process behind presenting that.
I think that's really good feedback. Sorry, that's really good feedback for us as we develop charges for next year. I know that the UP part is kind of an ingrained thing, and the DAC, that's what they're there to do. But getting in some kind of charge around, look at what happened last year, might be something we want to think about as we develop charges in the fall for next year. So thank you, Jeff.
On the piece, one thing I did like about the ERPs last year is that sometimes the principals, some are more talkative than others. It takes away the time from some of the UIPs. And this year, having them tasked really helped to be like, this is your time. You cannot go outside of the time, but maybe it does need to be broken up into 2 meetings. The first meeting of how it went, and then the second meeting, time boxed of where we're going. Maybe because sitting through all of those schools, it can be overwhelming just listening to them all, because there's a lot of overlap too. But maybe breaking into 2 meetings or something, but I do appreciate the time boxing, because I've been a victim of the non-time box UIPs, and that was not.
Well, the first year I actually wrote down everything every one of them said, so I could actually have gone back, and I could have. When we started out the second one, I'm like, wait a minute. What about these ones that you guys talked about last year? I'm not hearing anything about, what happened, how that went, good or bad. I'm not saying it was all bad. It's just, how did that go?
And honestly,
did that work the way you wanted it to?
And in fairness to everybody else, I think we were also finally at a place at a district and in life that we're stable enough to even ask those questions. I mean, there were a lot of questions we just didn't ask during like COVID, right? Like well, we survived, right? I mean, so I think the benefit, I think we're getting to the point where I don't know that before really we didn't ask those questions, because again, we were just getting through.
Sure.
But now that everything is settled and we're getting very normal and we're in a pretty stable place and all that, I do think it's to be appropriate to go back and say, all right, how did we do last year before we move on to this year? That's good insight.
And just to add to that, I really appreciate that. We used to share the Unified Improvement Plan, like the whole document is really cumbersome, not very user-friendly. And so we have changed that to be a one-pager, basically. So each principal does their unified improvement plan, and what they provide to the district accountability is basically, here's our goal, and here's what we're gonna do at our school to get there. And then another goal, and same thing. So just adding that other piece, a little more detailed. I think some people will share a bit about it and then just say, because of this, we're going to continue this goal, or we're going to change this, or whatever. But we've tried to make it a better process in general. So we're just getting better all the time.
Yeah, some sort of streamlined process may work, but just with the knowing that we're gonna talk about this again. We're gonna take notes, we're gonna what was planned and
Yes,
what
we
have you.
are,
and
Jeff.
we're gonna
We are going to talk about this.
Remember you talked to Michael and I and said you wanted to be more involved in the district?
I did. I remember
You
that.
you have some good wings.
School safety week.
Yeah.
You had to quit.
The only other comment is thank you for doing it.
Oh, you're
Thank you very much.
No, I was gonna say, I was thinking about this time is, I remember us having that conversation and we I mean, it wasn't intentional, but we kind of roped you into this. And I'm so thankful that, because you've done such a wonderful job leading that team. We get a lot of positive feedback.
Tammy helps me a bunch. So.
Well, you guys make a good pair, I mean, that's for sure. So
Good breakfast. So.
Had one
All our
this
business is done at breakfast. Yeah, well, when it was asked for someone to take it a couple years ago, after I think it was about 3 minutes, 27 seconds of dead silence, I finally went like that. So that's how that happened.
And then
So I
it
can't,
disappeared.
we can't be fully culpable for.
No, it's not your fault. I knew it was. Good?
You are
All
good.
right,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Thanks to your team.
Don't, we don't have any citizen comments on topics? No executive session?
Hey, you go.
Okay, yeah, so
Mrs. Wakeman.
I might be stealing your thunder, but go ahead. If you have a comment, yeah, come on. Because I think I was getting ready to say what you might be getting ready to say.
Good evening. I'm Peggy Wakeman, address 3 South Marjorie Avenue, Milliken, and I am here to greet you. I have been appointed by Mayor Austin to be the representative for the school district from the Milliken Town Board. So I'll be seeing you some.
Okay, that was it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say is that,
Why was I here?
well, no, I was getting ready because I knew that you had been appointed. The mayor shared that with Karen and I last week or 2 weeks ago. You know how I am with time. It's been last year. I don't know. But that's what I was going to tell everybody, that we might be seeing more of you, and it's always good to see you. So we'll be glad to have you.
You know where to find us.
Anything else?
Just to let you know, I'll miss our first May meeting. I have to go to a conference for work, so
Okay.
I'll be gone next week.
Okay. And you've got some June meetings that you're going to be out. Okay.
Yes, I will be out for both the June meeting when I'm traveling. First meeting and the second meeting is my soon-to-be 12-year-old's birthday, and we all have kids, and we all know if you miss their birthday, you never get that back.
Yeah, this is true, absolutely.
All right, guys. Thank you again for
Thank you.
very productive evening. Oh,
I was just looking at my calendar. This is the 21st meeting. Is that the one you're talking about, Director Brucker?
Correct. Well, I'll be gone both of those June meetings as they're
I gotta
scheduled.
go.
Huh?
We can have 3 of us.
we can so.
That's getting close.
You're gonna be gone too?
I don't
We'll just
have
be-
to be. It just means getting up really early to drive to college.
We'll just be doing committee assignments at night, so it's something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of. I don't want to take lectures here.
Right, Commissar de Comité? Is that what do we call it? What was our, I forget.
You made it up.
I know, I forgot.
You made it up.
So in our negotiation process, Tammy
It's
is,
the czar.
yeah, she.
With the
commi-
commandant.
The committee commandant, I think, she keeps finding herself in the
And the drivers.
driver's
We
seat
like
of all
that.
these committees that we're putting together to work through some issues, and so took to kind or the comment on that committee. So. Well, I would adjourn us at 8:35. Thanks again, everybody, for a wonderful
Thank you.
meeting.
Did you raise something else?
Let's, and we should just minute up too.
So